All right, today is a tag video, my 4 most important fragrances.
I finally found what I'm missing, and now you got all my attention. Driving me wild, got me wishing that you were all mine. You're irresistible, so refreshing. You're irresistible, tell the essence. Can feel your energy all over me. Close my eyes and I breathe in. You're irresistible.
Welcome back to Carolina Fragrance Reviews. I'm your host, Cam. Make sure that you're subscribed, activate that notifications bell, and follow us on Instagram at cam.byrd. Okay, today is a tag video. Ashton over at Gents put this out as a tag video, and he actually was like, oh dude, I meant to holler at you and tell you, I meant to call you out on this video. So I am following up. It's been a little while back, but I will stick the link down below for you to check out his video. And it actually kind of helped me figure out which fragrances that I need to pick out too, because when you think about like your 4 most important fragrances, you gotta, that's not as easy as it sounds. So all of our journeys start somewhere. Mine started with a fragrance that I should have went and just picked up at a Dollar General before I filmed today, but it's Brut by Fabergé. And I had to pick that one because that was the one that my dad wore the most. He also wore like high karate, English leather, there was like Avon fragrances. There was a lot of fragrances on the top of his dresser, and he had like a really tall dresser. I remember as a kid like trying to climb up it to get to his fragrances, and that was one thing that would get your rear end tore up for. So I think the, like saying, no, you can't have that, no, you can't do that, was like, yeah, I can. But I just waited until either he wasn't in his room and I'd go dabble in his colognes and all that stuff. Sorry, Dad. But I'm sure he doesn't care now. But you know how it is, like people say, no, you can't do this, and you want to do it. There's that curiosity. So it was a curiosity. I remember smelling that Brut and it just stuck with me. And then, as time moved on, you guys know about the Fahrenheit, you know about the next one, Cool Water. Cool Water was a fragrance that I picked up in Europe, and I was in high school, and it just seemed like I got ahead of the curve a little bit. It probably may have been, popular elsewhere, but in high school, there weren't that many dudes wearing fragrances. And if they were either wearing Curve, Drakkar Noir, or Adidas. Nobody else was wearing this. So actually, me and my buddy Tim, who happened to be my bass player in a band that I played, we both scooped us up a bottle of this, and it was like the best thing since sliced bread. So I was rocking this through high school. There is a lot of memories attached to this. I can remember numerous times, and I'm not sure why this one memory sticks out. I can remember there was a Chinese restaurant that was way across town. It's no longer there. It actually got closed down because people got food poisoning from shrimp. But it used to be like the bomb Chinese place. And we didn't have a lot of Chinese restaurants back then. So actually it was my chorus teacher that turned me on to that restaurant because it was close to her house. So I'm in my 454 Super Sport at that time. I know you guys know about my Mustang, but my next vehicle after that was a Chevrolet 454 Super Sport, which was, son, that thing was bad. But I was listening to Alice in Chains' Dirt. I don't know why, it's just seared in my head, but I can remember rocking this Cool Water right here. And I can also remember listening to Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and then when Snoop Dogg was rapping about this, and it was Cool Water, it was what, Johnson Baby Powder and Cool Water Cologne. everybody started rocking Cool Water. So that's what it seemed like to me. They may have been wearing it before then, but in my circles, they weren't. And this was like the holy grail. So this being like one of my first, well, it was actually like my first signature scent that I consistently wore all the time. And actually I got in a really bad car accident with that 454 Super Sport, where this couple that were high as a giraffe's ass on cocaine and drunk, they had numerous, I mean, they're actually both wanted felons. We were coming home from a gig one night and they T-boned me at an intersection and, I mean, completely smashed my truck. It was so bad. So a friend of mine actually had a body shop and he was like, well, you know, like insurance come out, they're like, it's totaled. And my buddy comes out, he's looking at it, he's like, man, it's gonna take a lot of work. How about I just buy it off of you? Little did I know, he wanted that thing for himself. But because his son was like best friends with my brother, I did get to see it from time to time. I even tried to buy it back off of him, but he wasn't having it. But I'm not exaggerating. I wore Cool Water so much in that truck, like a couple years after it was not in my possession anymore, it still smelled of Cool Water cologne. So I have so many memories attached to this. I mean, I could probably sit here and ramble on about, you know, 3 or 4 more stories that come to mind, but I don't want to bore you guys. Just know that this was an important one and it's part of the reason why I'm here today. So moving onward and upward from being, you know, a young and dumb and wild teenager, we're moving right on to when I'm married and I have a son on the way. I was working 2 jobs. I actually was working as a car salesman, and I also worked, it was like from November to like February. For the holidays, I was working at a place here in the South. I don't know if they're elsewhere, but Belk is very similar to a store like Macy's. Blue de Chanel was released in 2010, and that was the year that I was working at Belk. And I remember as soon as this thing came in, and what I would do when I came into work, because I worked at the fragrance counter, I worked in the men's department, they even had me help people with lingerie. I know it's as crazy as it sounds, selling shoes wherever they needed somebody on the floor, they had me there, but they really liked it when I was selling people fragrances, because 9 times out of 10 they'd buy more than one. So every time you get an upsell, more cha-ching, you know what I mean? So anyway, the entire time that my wife was pregnant with my son, this was my signature scent. This is actually the fragrance that I was wearing when I went to the hospital to cut my son's umbilical cord. And any of you who are fathers and love your kid even half as much as I love mine know how important and special that is. And, you know, just, it may sound sappy or whatever, but, you know, cut that tether of life or whatever. And this is exactly what I was wearing when I did that. So it's really near and dear to me. And this was also the last fragrance that my mom bought for me before she passed away. So it holds a very special place in my heart. As a matter of fact, this bottle my brother bought for me not long after our mom passed away, because I didn't want to use up the bottle that she bought for me, and he bought me this monster right here. So that's another reason why this would be really near and dear to my heart and a very important fragrance. This last choice wasn't exactly easy. I was trying to figure like, okay, what took me to the next level? You know, once you go from wearing fragrances like Cool Water or Bleu de Chanel or any of your mainstream fragrances, I would say the Acqua di Gio was also like a very huge fragrance to me. But I've talked about it multiple times, and as important as it was, and as long as it was my signature scent, I was trying to think of a fragrance that took me to the next level. It was Back to Black by Killian. This was the very first niche fragrance that I bought. I had to sit and think about it. but this was the first niche fragrance that I bought. So when you get introduced to something and it's a good experience, you know, like when you're going from wearing, you know, Chanel, Armani, or whoever it may be, and then you hear about these other houses that you had no idea about, you know, and then you start seeing indie brands and all this other stuff, and there's just so much information coming at you, and you know, I gotta get this, I gotta get that, and you know, it was mind-boggling. But I actually just started buying decants. So this was the first niche decant that I bought. But I also bought some Creeds and, you know, like some of the, you know, more top line of, you know, the private blend of Tom Ford, the La Vista de Parfums from Yves Saint Laurent, and, you know, different fragrances like that. I mean, to me, even though those are designer fragrances that have that Privé line, I still consider those more of like niche, because you can't go to your local Macy's or somewhere like that and buy those upper echelons of even designer brands. But Kilian just like rocked my noggin. It was just like, I wound up buying, after I bought this one, I think I bought like maybe 4 or 5 10 ml samples or decants. There was people that were doing splits, I got in on them, and every time I saw a Kilian, I would get in on it. And then that started happening with Creed and so on and so forth. So I have a lot of decants. It's absolutely crazy. Then you start buying the bottles. So Kilian, I don't know why, and people have, you know, called me a Kilian fanboy. I've called myself a Kilian fanboy. I know some people like hate Kilians and they don't think that it's, you know, bougie enough or unique enough. They would rather have something that smells, you know, like fecal matter and, you know, whatever. And so that's when you're really getting into it. So yeah, I've got some of those fragrances too, but I still like to wear things that I can wear around other people the majority of the time anyway. So the niche fragrance that, or the fragrance that popped my cherry, so to speak, to put me into the niche world was Kilian Back to Black. Okay, so now I'm gonna tag some channels. So I don't know who all has and has not done this. First of all, it's an open tag to anybody who wants to do it. So who do I tag? Kenny, the Fragrance Shark. If you're up to doing this, my friend, that would be awesome. Mike from 5280, Dan from Scented Waters. Hell, I know somebody who hates tags. Kuba, if you want to do it, you know, just do it. If you don't, you know, it's all right. I understand you hate tag videos. But anyway, you know, it'd be interesting. And like I said, any of you guys who want to do it, have at it. I would really like to see what crazy stories you guys have that have put you in this never-ending rabbit hole. Until next time, be disruptive, wear what you want, when you want, have fun. Subscribe to Carolina Fragrance Reviews, activate that notifications bell, smash that like button, leave us some comments down below. We'll see you next time on Carolina Fragrance Reviews.